circle number 1, Limbo. It's the first circle of the 9 circles of hell. It's basically like the Great Value brand of heaven, basically. It's really dark and depressing and gloomy. It's like listening to Adele. Basically, people who did good with their life, they just didn't believe in God, would end up here. So people like Stephen Hawking, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, those dudes, they did a lot for other people. They're really good people, they just don't believe in God. So that's where they would end up here. It kind of sucks. It's like one of those, oh, there was a God kind of things. And yeah, they live here for eternity. Also, we got like hot drinks in Limbo. So yeah, they're pretty cool, I guess. They're okay.
Next circle.
Okay, so welcome to the second circle, and the second circle is lust. So sinners that belong in this circle would be adulterers, prostitutes, strippers, all that, that spectrum. And famous sinners that Dante and Virgil experienced would be Cleopatra, Helen of Troy, Tristan and Francesca and Paulo. So what happens in this circle is that they are violently being blown by the wind, and right here there's an image of the souls that are violently being gusted, and what it represents is that they were being swept away by their temptations. So in their moral life, they had control over their body, and they kind of just took advantage of it and they let it go. So the wind kind of refrains them from having that control again because of what they did, and it also stops them from finding peace within themselves. Also in this circle, what you'll find is Minotaur, and his name is Minos. So what happens here is that there is a line of sinners, and each sinner tells Minos their sins, and he tells them, or he'll curl his tail, and depending on how many times he curls his tail is the circle that the sinner belongs in. Modern sinners that would probably be in this circle would be like Tiger Woods, Bill Clinton, Tristan Thompson, and we have like our little Inferno map over here.
We are on number 2 right now, and there's 9. Each circle you go into, yes, it looks smaller on here, but it's supposed to get worse. This is lust, and next you'll have gluttony. And this is number 9 is treachery, supposedly the worst one.
So yeah, this is our circle.
Yes, just go around from here.
So before entering the third circle of hell, Dante and Virgil come across Cerberus, the 3-headed dog, and he's growling and scratching at them and won't let them into the circle. So they pick up a piece of mud as an offering and trick him into thinking that it's food or something, so everybody take an offering. And then once you give her the offering, you can come into the circle, but be careful because it's raining and the floor is wet.
So this is circle 3, the circle of gluttony. And gluttony is like the overindulgence of like foods and drinks. So like, for example, we have Mel Gibson as one of our modern sinners because he's an alcoholic. We also have Edward Cookie Jarvis, who's a competitive eater, and Elvis Presley, who like died of an overdose of pills. So your punishment here for this circle is that it's always like raining like hail and this like dirty like mucky waters like sewage water, and you're lying on the floor like bloated, and like you can't move, and it's always just raining this ugly water. And then circle 4 is that way.
Our circle is circle 4, and the sin for our circle is greed. Basically, in our circle, there's 2 kinds of sinners. There's hoarders and wasters. There's hoarders and wasters, and basically their eternal punishment is them pushing boulders against each other, jousting with rocks, as you can see in the picture. The rocks symbolize, well, we can bring boulders up in here, so we have rocks, and the rocks symbolize their selfishness and how greed never really gets them anywhere.
time period, I guess, would be like Taylor Swift. She releases all of this music and she does it all, but she doesn't do any of it for free, like on YouTube or Spotify. She makes everyone pay for all their own albums and everything like that.
And then I don't know if you guys read it yet, but in Mr. Gonzalez's class we had to read The Great Gatsby, and one character in The Great Gatsby is Jay Gatsby. He's a millionaire with a huge mansion. He has everything he could possibly want, but he still wants Daisy Buchanan, a girl who's married and has a kid.
And then obviously Donald Trump, he wants to build a wall but doesn't want to pay for it. Like he literally shut down the government because they didn't want to pay for a wall. And then obviously Mr. Krabs, he's just all around greedy and he really just loves all his money.
So since we couldn't bring boulders, we did like a kind of a casino to represent gambling and like the want for money. So if you guys want to try to win a cookie, you gotta roll the floor. You get one try to roll the floor. It's okay. Y'all still get candy? Did you want to try? Thanks for visiting hell.
Hey! Well, this is the fifth circle, and the fifth circle deals with anger. So what's happening here is the swollen are in the waves, which are toxic and filled with poop. And also they're in this boat, which is, they're constantly fighting and using their teeth to rip out the people's flesh. So in modern day society, one person that would be in here would be Gordon Ramsay because of the cooking show. He's always angry about that. So this is basically the fifth circle of hell. So you've gone through lots of punishments. Now you're gonna go even worse. So do y'all have any questions? No?
Any questions? Alex, any questions? Any questions?
No.
Okay.
Alright, well, y'all are gonna go through the sixth circle now.
You're like floated on the ground, moving from side to side, trying to get the ugly water off.
Good work, guys. Good work.
Here we wait, is that it?
Huh?
Is that it? Is him?
Yeah, it's just there.
Here we have circle 6, and the sin is believing in or practicing another religion, so like Scientology and stuff like that. The punishment is people are condemned to eternity into flaming tombs. So basically, they burn in their tombs and they're charged with fire. And some of the modern sinners right here, like Daniel Radcliffe and Brad Pitt, they're atheists. And Tom Cruise practices Scientology and stuff like that. Lots of the pictures right there. They're hard to see. And then those are the tombs on fire back here. And that's the way to circle 7. Hello, and welcome to the 7th circle of hell, which is violence.
Like the noose. I got it from my grandpa. I'm just kidding. Okay, sorry. Just for sure. Okay, so I don't know if they explained it to you earlier in the other circles, but the deeper you go into hell, the worse everything gets. So this circle of hell really takes it literal, and like you know how layered cake, it's like a big piece, and then a smaller piece, and then the smallest at the top. Imagine that but upside down. So this red piece, the outer piece would be up here, this middle piece would be under it, and then the middle and the dead center, and the lowest point of it would be the middle center. So the first circle, it's the river of Matthias. Basically, this is for people who've committed violence against their neighbors or other people. It's like if you kill someone, you murder someone, it doesn't matter how many you killed or who. If you just kill one person, you'll be thrown in. The whole background of this river is that you're thrown into the blood of your victims you've killed. So like these people have been thrown in for killing people, and if you try to, it's hot boiling blood. So if you try to escape, like my friend here, you get a spear and arrow to the head, and this whole circle is guided by centaurs that are half human and half horses, and they basically guard this whole place, and they pick on the people of violence. This here, the opposite.
Next, moving in, we have the circle for violence against oneself. You come here for self-harm or obviously committing suicide. You're deprived of your body and you're turned into a tree. You're rooted to the ground and you can't move, you can't go anywhere, all while being tortured by harpies and dogs. In case you don't know what harpies are, they're kind of like crows. They eat your leaves and break your limbs, and whenever they break your limbs, you bleed out.
And whenever you feel like you're about to pass out or die, I guess, basically, you are basically revived and you're all healed, so you can go through that whole entire process all over again.
Okay, so like I said earlier, the deeper you get into hell, the worse it gets. And like I said, this one's quite literal. So you could imagine that the middle circle is the worst. In here, you have to do really specific things. You have to do violence against God, nature, and art. I'm not getting too specific, but in art, just if you're wondering what that is, it meant like, because back then they had like statues of Jesus and like paintings. People would like to show them because that's when they were questioning like the Catholic Church and all that. So like, they're like, that's when they were questioning God, like philosophers and stuff. Like, is God true? Is God real? That's what they mean. And basically, you have to do one of those 3 specific things, and each of them has a different task. But you're in a hot desert with burning sun everywhere, and these people have done bad things, so they feel the wrath of God. By the wrath of God, I mean it's raining fire 24/7. And personally, the people who've done violence against God have it the worst because they're pinned on their back with the sand burning them, and they're raining fire on them, and they can't move. They can't do anything about it. It gets so bad, their face is like melting off, and their bone is like melting with it too. So it's kind of gross. And the other 2 groups, one of the other 2 groups, some of them have to crawl the whole time. So imagine you picking up your hand after each time putting it back in the sand, it's burning you, and while the fire's hitting your back. I mean, that just sounds painful just to keep crawling. And the other people have to me, I think one of the worst, like in general in hell, is the people who are forced to run. And if you keep running in this fire, you're forced to run in the fire of hell. And if you stop running, your body just out of nowhere just ignites full of fire, and it won't be put out till you start running again. So you're kind of stuck there, and I think that's the worst thing in hell. So it's
Any questions?
Circle 7, violence. Anything? It sucks.
Alright,
Is there a good thing about hell?
Probably limbo. That's about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Circle 8. This is Fraud. When Dante and Virgil first get here, they ride on the personification of Fraud, which is like the face of a human, and it has the body of a scorpion, so that gives you a good idea like what this is. And the first pit, which is known as Bolgia, that's for the seducers and the pimps. You get whipped by horned humans. And the second one is for like flatterers. You get thrown into like a pit of human excrement, so like sewage. And in the third one is for like it's for like the Simonax. So like you get thrown into a pit of boiling tar and blood. The ones that we did was 9, 7, 1. 9, you get like disemboweled, dismembered, so you have like your limbs cut off, or you're walking around with your intestines in your hands. The 7th one is for like thievery. So if you're a thief, you get like eaten and attacked by snakes. And we did 1, which is again like pimps and seducers. You get whipped by demons. That's fraud.
I'm on the booster. I'm trying to get the booster. Move out of the way!
Don't worry.
Ask if they have questions.
You have questions?
How do you become a demon?
Really? This is a good question. I don't know the answer to.
That's a good question.
Well, it was my question at first.
Welcome to the 9th circle of hell. This is the last circle and the worst circle. Once you're sent here, you're sent to be frozen in ice. Once you're frozen in ice, you have to stare into the devil's eyes eternally. You could describe it as almost getting in a bath full of boiling, icy hot, looking at the sun that's like 1 foot in front of you. You get sent here for committing treachery, such as betrayal against your church, friends, family, stuff like that. And but honestly, to a extreme point. People who belong in this circle are people like Hitler. So I'm pretty sure you don't want to spend your hell next to your buddy old pal Hitler in there. But they're all trapped inside the ninth circle of hell frozen over.
Yeah, looks like a mystery box.
Don't tear it anymore. Thank y'all for coming. If y'all could go ahead and if y'all have not signed in, y'all can sign in.
You're like the nicest person in hell.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's
Gotta do
like
my
it's
job,
pretty
dude.
cool.
Gotta do my job. Any questions or anything?
No.
All right. Thanks for coming.